Hi, it's Rod, and this one's called Preparing for God's Hell on Earth. So, it's sort of like thinking about what are they teaching children in church or in public school today? Are they teaching them what the Bible teaches? How to have a good relationship with God? Probably not. It's sort of like, what if the teacher at the public school of the kids brought out the Bible and started reading out of Matthew 24? All right, kids, we're going to learn about what the future looks like. Say they were like 6-year-olds or something. This is what Jesus said. The future looks like hell on earth, kids. So I'll try to explain what Jesus said about the future in Matthew 24. It's like some people were asking him, what does the future look like, Jesus, when you return or something? And Jesus said, world wars, famine, disease, earthquakes, natural disasters, great apostasy, the days of Noah Part 2. Something like a Nazi Germany on steroids. A great tribulation like the world has never seen. A satanic world empire. Beast system. Sort of like a Hunger Games world, kids. Are you ready for it? Are you getting ready for it? Is your church preparing you for it? People acting like demonic animals that hate God and hate good and hate other people and hate Christianity. And if you're a Christian, they'll want to put you in prison or kill you. And there'll be many false teachers out there, false Christs doing lying signs and wonders, and false prophets. False revivals, false churches, trying to teach people lies rather than God's truth. Sort of like you can know them by what they're teaching. Are they teaching Matthew 24 in their church? Are they teaching you need to do church like the book of Acts in a loving way? Or are they teaching you that selfish living's okay? There's going to be a great revival in the future. They're going to make America great again. Or if any kind of trouble hits, we'll just have a pre-tribulation rapture out of here. We don't want to suffer at all. Type thing. That would be the false church. The Genie Jesus Health and Wealth Gospel Church. It's like trying to think that things have been safe and good for the last 70 years since World War II when they have not. It's been a very dangerous world to live in since World War II. Has the church been telling you that? Has the public schools been telling you that? Well, if you're close to Jesus, he can tell you that. Jesus can tell you the truth about what the world's really like and what the future's really going to look like. A God's hell on earth is coming. A great tribulation is coming. And it hasn't been a good world since World War II. It's been more like a rich man going to hell society since World War II. Selfish, disobedient to God churches and people. If the unsaved drop dead, it's hell time forever, and that's about 90% of the population. Dangerous stuff. Not having a healthy church preaching the gospel and people getting saved. That's not safe. And the church is like a disobedient to God church, and when they die, they get a bad judgment, reward judgment day. They don't want to obey God, let him do good works through them. They don't get great rewards and great careers in heaven. They barely squeak into heaven without any great rewards or great careers. That's not too good of stuff. And they're in danger of apostasy in that state if trouble hits their life. God's trying to use suffering in our life to teach us how to depend on him to help us through the suffering so we can handle the suffering. It's like we got to go through suffering Job experiences now as the remnant church to learn to lean on Jesus to help us through it, so that when we got to go through God's hell on earth in the future, we'll be able to handle it, because Jesus can help us to handle it through us. It's like the best way to prepare for the God's hell coming on earth, the tribulation or whatever, is to have a good relationship with Jesus. Going through suffering now, letting Jesus help you to handle the suffering now, going through the Job experiences now, letting Jesus help you to handle the Job experiences now, so that when the suffering experiences increase in the future, like God's hell on earth coming, tribulation, then you can handle the tribulation when it comes. But if you're not hearing that it's coming, you're not seeking Jesus to help you to deal with your sufferings now to prepare for it. If Jesus can help you to handle your sufferings now, you'll be able to handle your sufferings with Jesus later, when you got to go through a great tribulation later, if you're still here on earth later. So God's trying to tell us, or Jesus is trying to tell us from the Word, Matthew 24, that God's hell on earth is coming. And then the rest of the Bible teaches you how to deal with it. When Daniel had to go into Babylon, that's like going into hell. But he could be with God, helping him through the hell of Babylon. We can have Jesus helping us through the great tribulation coming. And we can get greatly rewarded for the sufferings we go through in the God's hell on earth trials coming. Not to fear it, to understand Jesus could tell us what to do. Jesus could do it through us. If we're letting him do that now, if we want sin in our life, we don't want to let Jesus do good works through us or suffer through us now, we're not going to be able to handle this tribulation coming later. Most of the church will just apostatize when the trouble hits, like the parable of the sower talks about. Trouble comes, or Satan snatches the faith out of them, or whatever. Other people, like a small few remnant, will be prepared for this coming, be ready for it, trust in Jesus to tell them what to do and give them the power to do it, to handle it, and be part of a small remnant, obedient to God, church or something that can handle this tribulation coming. It's like I get visions of the future. It's like sickness, poverty, and death, world wars, famine, disease, earthquakes, natural disaster. But Jesus is with me, helping me through it. Then it's time to preach and do miracles and see a few people get saved when all hell's breaking loose around them. These people just turn into demonic animals, and we got to watch that. It's like they don't want to obey God. The church doesn't want to obey God. They get full of demons or whatever, and the whole society gets full of demons, and they act like animals. They're lawless. Their love is grown cold. They're good haters, God haters, and the worse suffering they go through, the more demons they get, and the worse they behave, like Hitler or something, or a Hunger Games world or something. But Jesus could help you through a Hunger Games world. Jesus could help you through a Nazi Germany on steroids. The Days of Noah Part 2. He helped Noah through his day. He can help us through our Days of Noah Part 2 day. So that's what the churches should be teaching, not that there is no trouble coming. Jesus wants to be your genie, make you healthy and wealthy or something. No, Jesus wants to be your Job suffering experience helper. And he wants you to be able to be like a John the Baptist or something. I'm going to obey God even if they cut my head off for it. Or Paul in a rat-infested prison. I'm going to obey God even though I'm suffering in a rat-infested prison. But I'm not alone. Jesus is with me. Help me through it. So you got to have a model like, I got to live in a world that's turning into more of a hell. But Jesus can help me through it. Bring good out of it for me. Make me happy in it. And help me not to be bothered by it. Jesus said in Matthew 24, you'll hear of all this stuff happening, but don't let your heart be troubled. If you're with Jesus, you can handle it all. He controls it all. He made it all. He wants it happening because of free will choice. There's nothing too difficult for him to do. You're safe with Jesus in the tribulation. That's what we have to believe. Not that these false teachers and false prophets, we're going to have a great revival and the world's going to become a Christian world or something before Christ returns. No, that's the opposite of what Jesus is teaching. That's the false teachers and the false prophets. There's a pre-tribulation rapture. No, there isn't. God doesn't want us to suffer at all. He wants to be a genie. No, he doesn't. The Bible teaches we're supposed to go through suffering. Jesus learned obedience through suffering. There's great rewards in heaven for persecution and suffering. If you don't want to suffer, there's no great rewards or great careers for you in heaven forever. There's no Christ-like behavior being formed in you through the suffering. But if you want to believe the truth, Jesus can tell you what the future looks like. He can tell you how to trust in him to handle it. So that you're not just going to a school and hearing that there is no Christianity, the future looks great with technology or something, or going to a church and thinking, oh, God's going to make America great again through Donald Trump or something. Great revival's coming. Jesus said, few enter the kingdom of heaven, not great revival in the end times. Believe what the word says, not what your false teacher or false prophet are telling you. Everything's fine, don't get ready for anything. Listen to what Jesus is telling you. Read Matthew 24, say, how do I prepare for this Jesus? He'll tell you, let me do it through you. Paul said, it's no longer I live, it's Christ who lives in me, and Christ can handle great tribulation and bring good out of it for you. And in his presence is the fullness of joy, and you can have perfect peace trusting in him. It's a test or whatever, and it's a good test. Like the Job experience was good for Job, the God's hell on earth coming will be good for us if we want to trust in Jesus to help us through it. So that's how we prepare for God's hell on earth coming. We read Matthew 24, we believe what it says, we read on how God can help us through our troubles and problems on earth no matter how bad they are, even the Great Tribulation. And look forward to Jesus doing miraculous things to help you through it. And then give you great rewards in heaven later in a no more hell and heaven experience later after you die. But we got to go through a hell on earth experience in the future first before we get to a hell-free heaven experience later. With beautiful mansions to live in, paradise to live in, Jesus King and ruler of it all. Love, love, love. Great church in heaven forever type thing. But we have to go through hell on earth first. But with Jesus, it doesn't feel like a hell. It feels like a heaven. In Jesus' presence is the fullness of joy. A perfect peace trusting in Jesus. There's nothing too difficult for him to do. So we are to understand what's really coming. Satanic world empire beast system. And God wants it that way. And it'll be a test for people. It'll separate who really wants to obey Jesus through suffering and who doesn't, and then this will create the rewards and careers for people in heaven after they die, and it can work out good for God's remnant. So that's a bit about preparing for God's hell on earth.